these protests were doxxed, i.e. their names and their addresses were made public. And again, we don't know who did this because it's anonymous, but it's easy to point out where this information would be hidden and how it comes to light. And the sad fact of the matter is that students across the country, from California all the way to Boston, those students who have gotten involved in anti-Israeli protests, not only have they been doxxed, but there have been public calls for Fortune 500 companies to not hire these people. In an infamous case in California, UCLA, law students who protested, their names were publicized and the top law firms were asked, do not hire these people, these students, because they are, anti-Semites or whatnot. This is criticism of Israel, and it is being equated to anti-Semitism. And of course, the upshot of all of this is that there is a public sentiment that translates into hate crimes. It is sad to point out the realities that multiple people have been attacked. A 6-year-old child was brutally killed. A Palestinian child was brutally killed in Chicago. 3 Palestinian Americans were shot. One is in critical condition as we speak, merely a few days ago for wearing a kifaya. And overall the sentiment really is one of fear. And I have to say, as an American Muslim whose daughters go to campus, I have been telling my own daughters to keep a low profile and to come back on time, because there is a general sentiment of anxiety amongst us here in America. Now, that is the negative. Let's look at the positive, because there's always good news as well. So many positives as well. Never before have we seen such a public sentiment in support of Palestine across college campuses, across social media, even famous actors and people online, Susan Sarandon, Mark Ruffalo, others are publicly voicing their support of the Palestinian cause. And we see a clear generational divide. Generation Z, those born from 1995 to 2015 or something, Generation Z, by and large, that generation is supportive of the realities of what is going on and is expressing its irritation, its frustration at Israeli policy against the people in Gaza. And social media and TikTok and Twitter has really helped in this regard. We also see another major positive. For the very first time, pro-Palestinian voices, and when I say pro-Palestinian, I really shouldn't even have to say pro-Palestinian. Frankly, factual voices, because facts automatically will make you sympathize with the people in Gaza. You don't need to be pro-Palestinian to understand that there is tyranny and injustice taking place against the people in Gaza. So those voices, for the very first time, are being aired and being broadcast on social media. This has never happened before. And of the positives as well, even within the White House and the State Department, there is a massive, divide between Biden and between the actual leaders and between their staffers and their workers. As you're probably aware, over 500 people in senior places have written a very harsh condemnation of the president. It's supposed to be an internal letter, but parts of it have leaked out to the media. This has never happened before, where there's a massive divide, a dissenting, if you like, wing within the upper echelons of society, of the State Department. And this is, again, a very positive news. Some people have actually resigned in protest. And the last point I'll mention, because time is limited, the last point I'll mention is that one of the greatest positives we've seen is the multiple public protests nationwide. In fact, I'm involved right now as we speak in organizing another protest in D.C. in front of the Israeli embassy this weekend. And this is the third or the fourth national protest where hundreds of thousands of people are protesting across the countries. I'm in Texas, so here in Dallas, in Austin, in Houston, across the country, people are going to the streets and protesting against the genocide. We have never seen in our history such a public support. And the fact of the matter is, the other side, i.e. the pro-Israeli protests, are actually far, far smaller, both in quantity and in quality. The public sentiment, by and large, that we're seeing seems to be more pro-Palestinian than ever before. All of this having been said, let me conclude on this point, and I've been advocating this for the last 5-6 weeks, that there are two battles, or there are two wars being waged. The one is actual physical, and the one involves, actual weaponry and bloodshed, and may God protect, the people that are innocent, but we're not involved in that one. There is another war war taking place that is not violent. It is a war of the mind, a war of perception, a war of words. It is a war of public opinion. And in that war, every one of us has a part to play. You know, the algorithms on Facebook and Twitter, this is now well known. They are actually